Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Beware the Board, a horror podcast where you watch a randomly selected horror movie every single week. I'm Bob.
I'm Ben.
Sorry I'm laughing in the intro, but Ben clapped and blew out his own eardrum like a maniac.
It was loud. It hurt.
I know. I watched you clap and then stick your finger in your ear like something happened.
Okay.
It's extremely funny.
For this to make more sense, I live essentially in an attic. That's its own can of worms that we're not going to deal with right now.
I think you mean a can of the floor.
But the walls slope inwards, and so I'm kind of in like a weird corner thing when I clap, and
I gave you soundproof padding to put on your walls.
you just came over with that. That wasn't an option. You were just like, I don't want this in my house anymore.
No,
Here
I
you
literally
go.
told you I would bring it over since we're recording over
It's
here.
covered
now.
in dog hair.
Okay, well, the dog hair is my bad. Actually, not my bad. My dog's bad, thank you. Not my fault that she sheds like that.
I was listening to, I guess the episode from 2 weeks ago now.
Sure.
The Gamera one. And you really did Piper dirty on that episode.
Did I?
Yeah. We were talking about Dr. Pepper, and you were like, that's my favorite pet ever.
Well, okay. Well, here, listen here. I love my dog very much, but she fucking sucks. Like, she's an asshole. And she is a husky, so she screams, and I hate it. And it's very annoying, but I do love my dog very much. But the Dr. Pepper thing, that turtle was so easy to take care of in comparison to my dog.
And also, to make Bob sound like less of a shitty animal owner, he didn't get Piper willingly.
No, I was given this dog and said, you have her now, or she's going to a shelter. And I said, well, I'm going to take care of this dog. So I do. And I do, care about my dog. It's just that she's much more difficult to take care of than the turtle was. 2 walks a day, all that stuff. It's tough when you have 2 jobs and a life outside of just working.
It's okay. Piper kind of sucks.
Yeah, she kind of sucks. No, for those that don't know, my dog is really stupid. And when she gets excited, she'll stand underneath of stuff and then jump and smash her skull into it. And so she sort of has a Neanderthal skull now where her skull's a little caved in.
There's a dent on her forehead.
A dent on her head where she's smashed it into too many things. She's dumb. Anyway, moving on from my dog. Do you have anything you want to talk about before we get to the podcast part of the podcast?
Yeah, but do you want to go first, and then I'll...
Okay, so I have a few things. First is something that I meant to talk about last week, but I fucking forgot because I'm stupid as shit. My girlfriend and I went and saw... so the reason I'm bringing this up is because it was way more relevant on last week's episode considering the movie we watched. But my girlfriend and I went and saw Coraline in theaters because it re-released for its 15th anniversary or whatever.
That's a good movie.
It's a really good movie, and I hadn't seen it since I was a kid. And it's one of my girlfriend's favorite movies. So I was like, I'm going to get us tickets. We're going to go see it. Fantastic movie. I was so impressed. I hadn't seen it in a long time. Super duper cool.
Yeah, I have nothing else to add.
No, I know.
Great.
Well, a lot of people who are into horror, got sort of put into the genre by movies like that are, because it's sort of creepy and weird and cool. And a lot of people are into it.
I just like it because it's stop motion.
Oh, it's so well done, dude. It's so, watching that film now as an adult, it is so fucking impressive. And what's even cooler is because it was the 15th anniversary screening of it, they had special effects stuff after that you got to watch for an extra 30 minutes of them just talking about making all the puppets and stuff. Super dope.
Does it make you feel old that it's that film's 15th anniversary?
A little bit. Okay. Just a little bit.
Because I saw that in theaters when it came out.
Really? Holy
yeah.
shit. No, that movie is so good. Okay. Now on to actual news. Okay. So this is news about horror movies that Ben does not give a shit about.
Yeah.
Which is most of the time. But I like to talk about them because I think most of the time it's fairly interesting. In news about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey sequels.
That movie sucked.
Have you seen the second one yet?
No.
It's on streaming now on Amazon, I think.
Oh, it's out?
Yeah.
Notice how I didn't hear anything about that.
Well, in news about the movies that are spinning off from that, Pinocchio Unstrung, which is the Pinocchio, Pinocchio's going to be scary in it, is basically the point. And Bambi the Reckoning, which is the same idea. Bambi's going to kill people.
I don't know if you know this, but I've already seen the Pinocchio one.
It's not out yet.
Yeah, it is.
This one's not.
It came out a couple years ago. It has some pretty famous people in it. Haven't you seen it?
Okay, first of all,
there's the one guy.
This movie is not out yet, Ben. They haven't even sold the movie yet.
He wears a metal suit. And he flies around and shoots beams out of his hands. There's one guy who has this shield with a star on it.
Talking about the Avengers? What are you talking about?
Yeah. the Pinocchio movie where Pinocchio's evil.
What are you referencing? What is wrong with you?
It's Age of Ultron. That's just the evil Pinocchio movie.
Oh my god.
They do the song.
Well, that one sucks too. That's like the worst. One of the worst Marvel movies.
It's going to be better than whatever movie you're talking about right now.
Okay, probably. Anyway, now that Ben's done with this this Age of Ultron bit, both of these films have revealed posters, and there has been a slew of details announced about both. They're both being sold at the Toronto the Toronto International Film Festival, and have 2025 releases. Now, in specifically Pinocchio news, it is being directed by Rice Frake Waterfield, who directed Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. He's sort of the big director that they're having, like, head this whole, like, dark childhood universe thing. He's sort of the big one. Frake Waterfield says in an interview that this film will embrace practical effects at every opportunity, ranging from the doll itself to the title card of the film. Makeup and effects are being done by horror legend Todd Masters, known for his work on Child's Play and more notably for the podcast Slither. So hopefully, this will be a cool movie. It also has a significantly higher budget than Frake Waterfield's previous film, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. So I'm excited about it. Because honestly, something that terrifies me, this is a personal thing, I don't like dolls. Like, I think Child's Play will probably fuck me up a little bit when we watch it eventually. But the episode of Goosebumps with the doll, the living dummy, that scared the shit out of me as a kid. And I still sort of have a fear of these things. And so I'm hoping that this will be good for me.
Fair enough.
There was nothing interesting about Bambi, by the way. The Bambi the Reckoning one is just like killer deer in the English countryside. So I didn't write anything down.
That's fair, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully it's cool. I'm sort of interested, but nothing of note on that. Now, what did you want to talk about?
So, we're recording at 8 a.m. today.
Yes.
And if you can't hear it in my voice, Bob could probably tell you, I'm very tired right now.
He's always very tired, though. This changes nothing.
This does change nothing, but it's because I was up really late last night because I went to go see The Crow.
Oh, shit! I saw a review about this movie. Now I'm interested in what you think.
It sucks.
That's what I heard. I heard it was really bad.
It's really bad. Now, admittedly, it's that right type of cringy that some people are really going to like. But I thought it wasn't a great movie. The pacing was pretty bad. Do you know what The Crow's about?
Vaguely. We've talked about it before on the podcast.
What do you know?
Dude dies, comes back as like a reincarnated, like it's like the spirit of death or something comes back or something like it's some crap like that, right?
Okay, so a guy and his girlfriend get essentially murdered.
Yes, okay.
And he comes back as a revenant to like avenge them. First of all, this movie's like 2 hours long.
Holy shit.
The first half of that movie is just like establishing their relationship.
So they're alive for the first half?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And then the second half is the actual movie, of which the violence really doesn't start till the last half of that half, so the last quarter.
Sucks.
So, to be honest, I was very bored through most of that film. But, like, the other issue, besides the pacing, which I thought was really off, is that the film just didn't have any heart. Like,
Interesting.
The first half was building the relationship. I didn't care at all.
Damn.
They did not get me invested at all. And again, something about the pacing, it felt like they were together for like a week kind of stuff.
Damn.
And then this guy's going on a revenge rampage for her death, and I'm like, yeah, whatever.
I barely knew her.
Yeah, I didn't think it was very good.
That sucks.
And I also think, I don't know, stylistically, it wasn't my jam. There was just something a little bit off about it. Where I was like, this is not like a poorly produced movie, but I can't get into it at all. Like, I'm pretty sure the crow is just CGI the whole time.
Oh.
They didn't get a real crow at all. I'm pretty sure. They did, I couldn't tell. Anyways, I think it was lackluster and not great. But I definitely see how some people could like it if you kind of want a edgy, over-the-top film. My biggest complaint about it, though, is it's such a bad adaptation.
Really?
It's
That
atrocious.
Sucks. Well, I know I haven't seen the original Crow. Apparently that was also bad, but that was because someone died.
Yeah.
And they had to rush and put it together.
The original Crow is bad because, look, it's not that bad.
Really?
It's better than this movie.
Damn.
But a lot of the issues for that film come from the fact that they got, like, partially through filming,
Yeah.
and then oh my god, what's his name? Brandon Lee, I believe,
That's his name.
passed away, which is really sad
It's super tragic.
because he was like about to become famous, probably. In either case, they basically had to put together what they could from, leftover stuff. But at least that was a good adaptation because it's based on a comic book.
Mm-hmm. I've heard the comic book is like really good.
And it's supposed to be really good. I haven't read it, but I do know about it. And this movie was just completely different. They basically harvested the main concept, kind of. Like the main couple have the same names as the characters. And the guy dies and comes back as like a revenant. But that's where the similarities end. Like they added a bunch of weird like mythology stuff, and it was confusing and boring. It wasn't great. People could like it. But I think if you are interested in the original source material, you're probably going to hate it extra.
That blows. I know a lot of people were really excited about that because a lot of people think that the original sort of was tragic in the way that it could have been great if they had been able to finish filming.
Yeah.
And people wanted something more faithful and like really to bring it to its full potential. And they expected this movie to do that. And that sucks.
The original is cool because it's like halfway to the story, and then it peters off. This one didn't even get that far. It really does feel like they bought the IP and slapped the name on something completely different.
Gross.
Kind of sucks, but whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on before I get in a bad mood. Because that news makes me really sad because I was actually fairly excited about that. Because it looked cool.
Well, now you know not to go see it.
Yeah, but we're going to watch it at some point on the podcast, probably.
We might watch the original one.
You don't think we'll watch the new one?
I don't really want to watch it again.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, this is recent. Maybe when we get further down the road, you'll change your mind.
I don't really want to watch it again.
Okay, well.
Like, I don't think it was a great movie.
We've watched not great movies on the podcast before.
Yeah, but I had fun with them.
That's fair.
Like, Bill Skarsgård's in it.
Yeah.
He plays Eric. And I was like, okay, some of the time you're doing a good job. And then a couple scenes, what happened to your acting?
But he lost it. Okay, Ben, we're on the final stretch.
Yeah.
We only have one movie in every single category left for the season.
Yep. We usually get down to this every season.
That's not true. Last season we didn't.
I said usually.
Okay. Anyway, I don't know what I want to choose today. I've been having a really good time with kaiju movies, but
You're not going to finish it.
You're right. And that was what I was going to say. I don't think I want to finish it because I'm hoping, and look, maybe I'm dumb for this, but I'm hoping you put the original Godzilla film in the last spot. So that means if we wait till the last episode, we get to end on Godzilla. So that's pretty cool. So I think I'm going to try that, which leaves me with two other options: zombie comedies and cosmic horror.
You mean Zomcoms?
Zomcoms. Shut up. That's not real. And I don't know what I want to choose because cosmic horror has been cool. I've had a really good time with that, but I think it's been too long. I think I'm going to go with zombie comedies this episode.
You're going to finish off Zomcoms?
Stop calling them zomcoms. I hate it. I hate it.
I'm just joking. They're zombies.
Zomcoms
Zomcoms are rom-coms with zombies.
Which the last one was.
Was it? I guess it was.
Well, the last one we watched.
They've all been Zomcoms, technically.
That's also true. They've all been the thing you just said, because I'm not going to repeat it because I don't want to...
Zomcom?
I don't want to be a part of this bit. Anyway.
I don't know why you hate it so much.
Because I have a hatred for when you combine words. Like hallucinations, that makes me want to explode. Thrillomedy, kill yourself.
I didn't make that one.
You're right, you didn't make that one. That one's not your fault.
That was made by a professional advertisement company.
You're right. I'm sorry, Ben. That one's on me. I shouldn't have blamed you for that. But hallucination is on you, and I hate it.
I don't think that I made that one either.
Did you not?
I think I've heard that places.
Well, whoever made it up, I hope you explode. Anyway, what's our last spot in zombie comedies, Ben?
Today, we are going to be watching Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, thank God. Yes. I love this movie so much. This is one of my favorite movies.
Now, just to give you a little peek behind the camera, Bob, I almost was an asshole.
I know. I expect you to. I wasn't expecting this to be on here.
No.
Oh.
Not in the way you think.
Huh?
So this film is a part of Wright and Peg's Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy, right?
You would not do that to us. You would not do that.
So, it's this film followed by Hot Fuzz and The World's End. I bought the 3-movie Blu-ray.
But two of them are horror movies. One of them is not. Hot Fuzz is not a horror movie.
It was kind of a horror movie.
But not as much as Shaun of the Dead and At World's End.
The original plan was to do all 3 for this spot as the fuck you because you knew Shaun of the Dead was going to happen. Then I decided not to do that because I have school right now.
Yup.
And also, I couldn't really justify it since 2 of those really aren't zombie movies.
They're not. And
I usually like to have them be at least interrelated.
I'm glad you didn't do that because it is 8 a.m. If we recorded all 3 of those, we'd be here like 12 hours.
Yep.
And I would not be prepared for that. I'm not even prepared for this.
Yeah. So
Jesus
we're just
Christ.
watching Shaun of the Dead from 2004.
Whoa, this movie's 2004?
Yeah, it's old.
I didn't realize it was that old.
It's old. Anyways, description. Could this be a zom-com?
Not again. Is it?
All 3 movies.
It is.
All 3 movies
No,
in this
stop,
spot are
bro.
zom-coms.
Ugh.
That was unintentional. It just kind of turned out that way.
Yeah, okay.
Length, it's an hour and 39 minutes long.
A normal length movie.
It's rated R.
Thank God.
Review scores, IMDb gave it a 7.9 out of 10. Tomato Meter gave it a 92% and an audience score of 93%.
Hell yeah, dude.
Awards, it has 14 wins and 20 nominations.
Jesus Christ.
For notable actors, we have Simon Pegg as Shaun. He was Scotty in Star Trek.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
Star Trek. The movie.
The most notable thing Simon Pegg has ever done, I guess.
Yeah.
That's not true at all.
Totally
He's so
wasn't
famous.
Totally wasn't in like Mission Impossible
Yeah.
and the other movies in this trilogy. Kate Ashfield as Liz. She was Jodie in Late Night Shopping. Lucy Davis as Diane. She was Etta in Wonder Woman. Nick Frost as Ed. He was Rod in Attack the Block. Dylan Moran as David. He was Bernard Black from Black Books. He was on 18 episodes between 2000 and 2004. Bill, I always struggle with this guy's last name. Nighy?
Oh, I have no idea, bro.
It's like Knight, but with no T and a Y.
I see.
As Philip, he's kind of famous. Do you know him?
I know of him, but I don't know what he's famous for.
He has like the sickest beard ever.
Yes.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking about, but I keep going.
He was Davy Jones in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Dead Man's Chest.
I thought so, but I didn't want to say it because I was like halfway there. I was like, I think I know what he's talking about.
He has a sick beard.
He does.
I want a beard that can do things for me. Penelope Wilton as Barbara. She was Jean Ainsley in The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. Jessica Hines as Jessica Stevenson in this film. And she's playing Yvonne. She was Daisy Steiner from Spaced. She was on 14 episodes between 1999 and 2001. Peter Serafinowicz, don't know, as Pete. He played the Tick from The Tick.
I heard that show was good. It's not. I think it got canceled, didn't it? Like they're not doing it anymore.
I think so. But he was on 22 episodes between 2016 and 2019. We just saw this guy. Let's see if you know from where. Raph Spall as Noel. No? He was in another British film we watched last season.
British film from last season. Okay.
Well, from the UK.
UK. What the fuck was last season, bro? Remakes?
Into the Woods. That's the name of that season. Kinda.
I don't remember. My brain hurts.
He was Luke in The Ritual.
Oh, shit. Well, he's in this?
The main character, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Movie. And then there was a couple different cameos in this film. A lot of them were famous, like, English actors that I don't know.
Sure.
Because they're famous English personalities, and I'm an American. But I did note down one because I did know this guy. Martin Freeman as Declan.
Oh.
Do you know who that is?
I've heard the name.
He was Bilbo in the Hobbit franchise.
Okay, that's...
You probably know him from other things, but
yes.
That's probably where you know him the best. Directors Edgar Wright.
I
he also directed Last Night in Soho.
Never seen it.
Okay.
I've seen other Edgar Wright films. Like I've seen the full everything except for Hot Fuzz, and I think they're all directed by Edgar Wright, right?
The Cornetto trilogy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, what is that other? I've seen some other films. I like Edgar Wright as a director. He does cool stuff.
That's fair. He does a lot of cool stuff. Writer Simon Pegg. He also wrote Paul, 2011.
Oh my god, I forgot Simon Pegg was attached to that. That's funny.
And then the other writer's Edgar Wright. If you didn't know this, he wrote Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yep.
And The Adventures of Tintin. I didn't know that.
I also didn't know that.
Budget's estimated at about £4 million, with a box office turnout of about $38 million.
Holy
38.5. Country of origin looks like United Kingdom, but I also saw France and United States listed.
Oh.
Why? I don't know, but I
cool.
wrote it down. I think their distribution companies were from France and United States, but
Okay.
it is all shot in England. Also known as Tea Time of the Dead, which was the working title from the UK.
Not bad.
Tagline: a romantic comedy with zombies.
Jesus Christ.
They agree with me.
They can agree with you all they want.
Zomcom. That was the secret category.
The secret category this season was
Zomcom.
Zomcoms? Okay.
Instead of zombies.
Mm.
Anyways, get into a couple quick facts. If it wasn't obvious, this movie is actually based on famous zombie films.
Mm-hmm.
You should know that by now. Do you know which one? The name references, at least.
Dawn of the Dead.
That is
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Because Shaun.
Dawn. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's also like Night of the Living Dead. And there's a couple other films that this film is referencing. But I think it should also be noted that while it's a reference to films that came before it, the film also takes a lot of inspiration from the writers' lives. So there's a lot of things in this movie that are kind of inspired by anecdotes from like Pegg's and Wright's actual life. My understanding, for instance, is like Pegg would always go to the pub a lot at one point, and he'd go to like the same one every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of inspires the Winchester in this film. Or I think it was Wright kind of totally missed. There was a, I think it was the mouth and foot epidemic that went on in the UK for a while. And so he was like not watching the news for 10 days, and he just turned on the TV one day and he saw them burning cows, and he was like, what is happening?
Oh my god.
Which is also inspiring some of the elements of this film. On top of that, the whole film is also just a kind of conceptual look into what would a British person do in a zombie apocalypse?
Which is astounding.
Americans have guns.
Guns, yep.
Just everywhere. Not every country has that, so it gets a lot more complicated. In either case, having said that, there is some more direct inspiration for this film than just like inspired by other zombie films or inspired by Pegg and Wright's real life. In fact, the movie is actually based on a repurposed idea from one of their earlier projects.
Oh, that's cool.
So they worked on a TV show called Space between 1999 and 2001. It's a British TV show.
Mm-hmm.
They actually have a couple actors from Spaced in this, including Pegg, who was like the main character. In either case, they had an episode called Art. And in that episode, Pegg's character basically hallucinates a zombie attack kind of thing going on.
Okay.
And that served as kind of like the initial jumping point for this movie concept, for like the inspiration.
That's pretty cool.
With that out of the way, kind of get into some of like the more specific stuff. The film was shot over 9 weeks in London, both on location and at Ealing Studios. And that was done between May and July 2003. So fairly quickly, but not
as fast as nowadays, at least.
Yeah, not standard for nowadays. They also did, for like some of the real location shots, they did those on real locations. For instance, the Winchester pub was shot at the Duke of Albany pub in New Cross, South London.
Oh, that's sweet.
Which was a 3-story Victorian pub. Doesn't exist anymore.
Damn.
They tore it down for flats in 2008.
Ugh.
Kind of sucks.
It does suck.
Because we could have gone there.
We could have. It would have been cool.
Not us specifically, but just in general.
It's a general thing for people who like this movie.
Other cool facts. The soundtrack for this film apparently pays homage to other zombie films.
Oh, that's cool.
Particularly soundtracks from zombie films with arguably some of the coolest soundtracks the Italian zombie films.
Oh,
So the music is meant to pay homage to soundtracks by Goblin or Fabio Frizzi, which I think is really cool.
it is really cool.
They also got like sound cues from this D Wolf production music library,
Mhm.
which is the same place Romero got sound cues for Dawn of the Dead.
Oh,
So
that's
they
so
grabbed
cool.
some of those same stuff. Last but not least, I think it should be mentioned because it's one of those things that I didn't know for a long time because I've seen this film a bunch.
Mhm.
Is that there's actually some associated like comics. You can
I
really
had
only
no
find
idea.
them on the DVDs and stuff.
Uh-huh.
They're shorts, but they deal with like scenes that aren't shown in the movie
Whoa, that's sweet.
and are left as like little plot holes. They're really quick, but the really cool one, because I didn't know it existed at all, is a short prequel comic called There's Something About Mary.
Whoa, that's pretty sweet. That's really cool. I actually didn't know that.
Anyways, that's all I got.
Okay. Well, I'm really fucking excited about this one, Ben. I'm glad you finally decided not to be an asshole. Just this one time.
I could change my mind right now.
You could, but I would go home after this one. I would just leave. And then we wouldn't...
This
they
could
just
all be
wouldn't-
an elaborate ruse.
How is this a ruse?
We could be watching something else.
No, I'd be so mad at you. Like, I'd actually be so fucking pissed. Especially because now you've given all these facts, and they were about this movie and not whatever other thing you have planned if you have a ruse going. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see you guys after the movie. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We just finished watching Shaun of the Dead.
Not to be confused with Dawn of the Dead. A very similar movie in tone and feel.
No, not at all.
Identical.
The only thing that is similar is there are zombies. That's it.
We don't say the Z word, Bob.
Okay, but we do. Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. I'm gonna stop myself. I'm gonna stop myself. That was too funny. That was too funny, but I won't say it.
Oh, you can't.
Let me just say this movie is from 2004, and there's some colorful language that I will not repeat, but it was incredibly funny because I forgot that it happened.
Oh, that would have had to be bleeped.
I wasn't gonna say it.
Oh my god.
What a start to this part of the episode, huh?
Yeah. On that note, do you like the movie?
Yeah, this movie's great. It's really fun. I like it a lot.
No, it's a good movie. Surprisingly good. I'll put this out here because I've said it to Bob before, but I have admittedly probably seen this film too many times.
That's fair.
Like, I'm kind of at the point where it's not that I dislike it, but I know it so well.
Yeah.
Where it's not like a super fun film for me to watch. But I don't think that changes the fact that I think it's really good.
Yeah.
Because it is. It's just, I don't have the same excitement as I would with like a newer film or one that I'm not as familiar with. So I will put that out there if I don't sound like super excited
That's fair.
about it. And also that colors my review. I think that's not uncommon. I think this film was on Netflix for a really long time.
It was on Netflix for
And
a really
so
long time.
I know out of the Cornetto trilogy, this is the one that most people have seen. At
'Cause I think Hot Fuzz was also on Netflix. I think they were all.
it
were at
was.
one point.
I think I've seen Hot Fuzz like twice as many times as this one.
Good lord.
I really like. I enjoyed this film a lot more than I would have enjoyed Hot Fuzz because I've just seen Hot Fuzz so much.
Crazy that that's the only one I haven't seen of the three of them.
It's weird, especially because World's End is like the least popular.
Yeah, but I like that one too.
In either case, I highly recommend you go watch this film if you haven't seen it.
Oh, for sure. If you have not seen this movie, it is probably an incredible watch.
It's great. It's really well written. It's really funny. But we're going to do a quick summation, and then we'll get into our actual review. Spoilers going forward.
Mm-hmm.
But what this film is about is it's about Shaun and his friend Ed. They are two guys in their late 20s. I know Shaun's 29. Assumedly, Ed's about the same age because
I
they're
think they said
childhood
they went to high
friends.
school together.
Yeah. But long story short, there's a zombie outbreak. We'll get into that in a little bit because it's a very funny reason for the zombie
Oh, it's
outbreak.
incredible.
But the film follows Shaun and Ed trying to pick up their friends and family and get them somewhere safe. And of course, things go horrifically wrong
Yeah.
because they are not, your classic heroes, which is kind of the point of the story. If that sounds good, check it out. Even if it doesn't sound good, highly recommend you check it out if you haven't seen it before.
For sure.
It's just a very well-made movie. with that being said, we're going to get into it. All right. Is there anything you want to start with?
Okay, so I think where we should start, at least for me, is, like Ben said, he's seen this movie. I've seen this movie. I haven't seen this movie since I was probably like 12 or 13.
That was the first time you watched it?
Yeah.
So this is your second time.
Yeah, so it's been quite a while. So I knew like all of the main plot points, but I didn't remember a lot of the details and stuff like that. And also I had watched this movie before I really got into horror as a genre. And Ben mentioned it during the pre-movie. This movie is full of references to other films, and the number of them is staggering. Like, every other line or something is just a reference to another zombie movie, or like a reference to something, some other form of horror media.
Yeah, you really have to be knowledgeable and also looking out for the references to get all of them.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them happen in very like split-second circumstances. Mm-hmm. For instance, we do kind of learn, or at least imply, where the zombie thing comes from, but it's half a line about a deep space probe.
Yeah.
Like crash landing in England, which is a reference to Night of the Living Dead, where that's how the zombie infection happens in that film. Or like there's a weird reference to rabid monkeys causing the virus at the end of the film, which I think is a reference to Dead Alive.
Probably.
Just everywhere.
I mean, and that's something about this movie is like, for me, a lot of the enjoyment, because I've already seen it, came from watching it again for another time and getting all of the references and stuff, and like picking apart how just insanely well written this movie is if you're into the zombie genre as a fan.
Yeah.
It's so crazy how much stuff they really put into like the background of shots, or into there's just a lot of stuff that if you want to unpack and you're a fan of the genre, you really can, and it really brings the movie up for me. Like, I had so much fun just picking everything apart.
Yeah, and I think that really underlines, for me, what is the best part of this film, which is how tight the writing is.
Oh, it's crazy.
You can like or not like the humor of this film. I think it's pretty cut and dry in the sense that...
it's very British humor. It's very dry. Like, I like that kind of humor, so I thought it was really funny, but at no point is the film like super ha-ha, laugh out loud funny. It's like, oh, that's hilarious, but I'm like chuckling at it, but I'm not like dying laughing.
Yeah, it's like kitchen sink realism and stuff. And I think it's either one of those things that hits for you or it doesn't. But the thing that really, I think, makes the film enjoyable is just how well written it is and how things come back again and again and again. Because they just set up so much stuff. And it must have been a hard film to write because, it's hard to find films that are as well plotted out as this one. I think one of the best examples of it, and I mentioned it to Bob during the movie, is there's a scene right at the beginning of the movie where Ed is describing what he wants to do tomorrow to make Shaun feel better because he's down in the dumps. And, there are all these drinking references like, okay, we're going to do a Bloody Mary and do shots. And it's literally scene for scene what happens later in the film.
Yep.
And there's a ton of stuff like that where in the early sections of the movie, they'll say something just inconspicuous that comes up later as a reference that bites the characters in the butt. For instance, Peter, who's Shaun and Ed's roommate, keeps yelling at them about leaving the door open.
Yep.
And a zombie walks in later in the film because they left the door open.
There's lots of stuff like that. It's super well written and it sets up everything that it has to. But if you're watching the movie for the first time, you'll miss a lot of that stuff. Watching it for the second time, I got so much more of that and it was so much more satisfying.
Yeah, it's really the thing that gives this movie a lot of rewatch value. Every time I watch the film, I usually can find something new to focus on that I didn't really pick up on previously because there's just so much going on, especially in the background. Mm-hmm. The first, half of this movie is the build-up to the zombie apocalypse. And of that half, almost all of it in the background, you see people slowly getting infected. Like, the apocalypse doesn't just happen all of a sudden. No, it's a gradual build-up that our main characters aren't noticing. And so for that full, 30, 45 minutes, you can just watch the background and not only pick up on clues for like, okay, what's happening in the apocalypse, like what's causing it, but also, oh, I can see the infection spreading.
Yep.
And the film's just full of fun little things like that you don't pick up on that you can see on the second, third, fourth watch.
Yeah, unlike something like Dead Alive or Zombie for Sale, this movie is like, I don't want to say it's like master crafted. It's like crafted in such a particular way that it feels plotted out and planned and meticulous, unlike those other films. You know what I mean? Like, it feels so much more just like exact and on point than the other films in this category we've had this season.
I mean, I think it's just a masterclass on tight, consistent writing. Now, the downside of that is you can't have a lot of improv, which, I mean, we have comedy actors in this. Peg is a very good example of that. And that can be restrictive. But I do think it really paid off with this movie. I think the film wouldn't have been as good.
Yeah, for sure.
If it didn't have all those references and background information that I think really carries it for me personally. In a similar vein of references, how'd you like the soundtrack?
Oh, it's so good, dude. Since you told me what to look for this time when I was watching it, I really got all of it, and it was super fucking cool. Like, all of the music is very reminiscent of something like Zombie 2 or From Beyond. Or is it? Oh, it's The Beyond. I'm sorry, not From Beyond. From Beyond's the
H.P. Lovecraft
Lovecraft movie. The Beyond is the Italian zombie movie. All reminiscent of that. Like, and it's super, super cool. It reminds me of Suspiria in a certain way, too.
That's also Italian.
I think it was also Goblin, wasn't it?
It might have been, yeah.
But that's really sick, and it's really, really sweet. I love it a lot.
It does feel a little bit odd as a soundtrack choice if you're not familiar with that background.
Yeah, but because I am, it was awesome.
Right, and I think that's another example of things in this film that are easy to miss if you don't have the background information. Like the Deep Space Probe thing is nonsensical unless you
know Night of the Living Dead
enough to recognize that bit.
And I think that's really what this film does so well. It is a zombie comedy film for fans of the zombie genre, and that's the coolest part.
Yeah, I mean it is really a labor of love. Like, you can tell, not just the writing, but the references, how tongue-in-cheek it is about classic zombie behavior stuff.
Yeah,
for sure. Great.
The sound effects are also really good. I could see that they pulled from the same catalog as Romero from Dawn of the Dead. Like, there were a lot of noises that oh, okay, I could see the similarities.
Okay, could you?
Yeah, I could see it. I'm
really bad at paying attention to stuff like that.
Like the scene when they're looking at the Winchester and they come over the thing and look at it, the noise that it plays over the top of that is just something straight out of a Romero film.
Okay.
It's so cool.
I'm glad that you were able to spot those.
I was looking for it because you mentioned it.
Fair enough. With that having been said on references and stuff, I mean, I think the really big thing that pulls the film through, outside of the whole talk about zombies and dealing with tropes of the genre, are the characters in this movie.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
This is very much a character piece. It's about just your average 20-year-old British people. I say 20-year-old, 30-year-old British people. And they're all just great characters.
Oh, they're so funny.
Everyone in this film is a outlandish person. And I think that really makes the film fun to watch. We have Ed, who's just a bum.
Yeah.
That's probably the best way to describe him. Shaun is the guy who's kind of stuck in life.
Dead-end job, doesn't really have a great relationship with his girlfriend, trying to figure his shit out.
His girlfriend's the one who just wants more from life. There's her roommates who one's the failed actress and the other one's the snooty, as they describe him, twat. Shaun's mom, who's just super spacey.
Yeah.
All the time. And then his stepdad, who's
not a bad guy.
Not a bad guy, but Shaun hates him. And they're all just really, really fun to just listen to and riff off of.
I mean, I think what makes them so good is they're so just over-exaggerated, ridiculous characters.
But they're real people.
You can imagine these people actually existing. But they're played up in a way that is realistic yet hilarious because they're in such what should be tense and scary situation.
Yeah, to be honest, and this might be me, they all feel like characters you'd see more on a TV show.
Yeah, for sure.
Like a long-running kind of sitcom thing. I'm not sure if that was intentional as a writing design choice to show okay, stereotypical people in a zombie apocalypse, or if it was because at this point Peg and Wright were more familiar with that as a medium. They did just come off of Spaced, which was a TV show that both of them worked on before this project. But yeah, I just wanted to mention I liked all those characters. Do you have a favorite?
A favorite? Okay. This is going to sound dumb. Ed's my favorite. He's so stupid. He's so stupid, and it's awesome. Like, it's so funny to watch him do stuff.
That's fair. I think his actor did a great job.
No, Nick Frost is great.
Nick Frost is great in this movie. Even if Ed kind of sucks.
I mean, they all kind of suck, but that's the point. Like, they're all equally pretty horrible, I think.
I don't know. I thought his not his dad.
Well, Philip was fine.
Philip
the worst
was
thing
great.
Philip did that we heard about was chase him with a piece of wood, which is honestly not that bad. I don't even know if he hit him. He just chased him.
He just chased him around the garden.
And I guess his mom's fine too. But like, of the main group of like 30-year-olds, they all are just kind of bad people. And they suck in really fun ways. And watching them try to hash out their own problems while zombies are attacking is hilarious. It's just fun.
I mean, it's, I think, another important element of this film, because there isn't any improvisational stuff, and it's all very like well scripted. Your characters have to have interactions that are inherently funny, but also realistic. For instance, you know, we've talked a little bit about Shaun's mom, but she's really spacey. Like she very clearly is not fully aware of what's going on, and so it's a very high tense situation, and she'll just be like, "I'll make you some sandwiches."
Yeah. Or there are multiple moments where zombies are attacking and someone comes to get her and they say something, she goes, "Hello?" And it's just like, what the fuck is happening right now?
And like, that doesn't random, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And that only works because of how well the characters are written. And I think that is very important to this whole structure of the film.
For sure. And I mean, there are plenty of moments where all the characters are arguing and it's like supposed to be like this really tense, crazy situation. And Ed will just say the most out-of-pocket, ridiculous bullshit to a response ever. And it's so funny, and it breaks it up and makes it feel less like a less intense situation where it should be funny. It keeps the tone the same, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it feels like, you know, Ed fills the comic relief role. That's very obvious. But a lot of his lines feel like they should be improvisational lines, except it totally makes sense for the character to do that.
Because he's just, the character in himself is just stupid. And so he just says, like, the most out-of-pocket shit.
And they are very specifically written in to be the most effective times you could do them.
Yeah, and also, like, they're usually references to something someone else has already said earlier in the film.
Or
like,
bouncing off something else. I think a really good early example of it is Liz, Shaun's girlfriend, and Shaun are kind of having a bit of a, not argument, but like a talk right at the beginning of the film. It's how the film opens up. And Liz is like talking about how she doesn't want to go places with Ed all the time. She wants to have like a night alone with Shaun. And she was like, "I just want some alone time together so we can," and then you just hear Ed yell "fuck," which is just like such a great little
behind them or something.
Little bit there.
Yeah, or like in that exact same conversation, Liz like talks about something exacerbating a situation, and Shaun goes, "What does that mean?" And then later in the film, Ed uses the word. He goes, "exacerbate." And she's like, "I don't think that's what you think it means." And it's so good. It's just like, they're so good at taking what should feel like a scripted, plotted out film and making it feel like there is some sort of like natural weight and balance to it. Like a natural like bounciness to the lines. Like it feels like everything's on beat like it should be, but it doesn't feel forced. It feels natural, like it wasn't written. Like this is just the way the characters should act. And that's super good. It's super cool.
Yeah.
And I really, really love it. It's super, super dope. We haven't really talked about it. The zombies in this movie. Because I think they're interesting. Because I remembered vaguely what they were like, but I did not remember them being this,
sucky?
Well, I was going to use the word shambolic, because that's a word that they use in the movie that feels made up.
They do use the word shambolic, and I love it.
It's so stupid.
It's such a stupid word. If it even is a word. I don't
know.
But yeah, they are some of the worst zombies I've ever seen. Not in that they're, like, bad, per se. I think they're really well done.
Yeah.
But in that they're, like, really ineffective at killing people. Like, I don't necessarily know how this problem has spiraled out of control like it has, except for the fact that it does seem like people got infected and then just didn't report it and then bit their friends. Essentially, they walk really slow. They're some of the slowest shambling zombies
are so slow
I've ever seen, but they're really dumb.
They're super dumb.
They do the classic kind of gag where our main cast of characters acts like zombies and the zombies leave them alone, but they do so without even like trying to look at them or smell them.
No, they're
it's just
acting like zombies.
the simple act of like not even necessarily acting, but just walking slow was enough to convince them. Or at one point, Shaun literally runs through a crowd of them and avoids
And he's fine.
getting bit. So they're really ineffective. And I think that is part of the fun of this film, because it allows our characters to get away with a bunch of bullshit that they probably shouldn't be able to.
Just some of the most ludicrous shit.
And at the same time justifies the fact that these are the people that survive the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Because in any other film, it would have been like plot armor,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't feel like it in this film. The really important thing that I want to note about these zombies, because I do think it is very funny, and the film does kind of point it out themselves, they do seem to retain a little bit of their selves once
Only a
they're
little bit.
zombified.
Very like Romero style.
Yeah, it's and it's very specifically I think a Dawn of the Dead reference,
Mm-hmm.
where people do the things they did in life,
Yeah.
which they point out in Dawn of the Dead, where like people still go to the shopping mall,
Because that's where they went when they were alive.
and it feels very similar in this film.
Mhm.
For instance, I think the best example is there's a really funny scene where Shaun's stepdad gets turned, and he's locked in a car with some music blasting. And the whole time we've seen him in this car, like earlier in the sequence, he was just yelling about turning the music off. And, you know, outside the car, Shaun is having an argument with his mom, and he's like, Philip, his dad, isn't in there. He's like, he's gone. There's nothing left of him. And then we just see Philip turn off the music.
And it's so funny.
It's great. Again, another great zombie reference, but I think it's a really cool like tidbit, because it's not just Philip that does that. Most of the zombies are doing things that are very reminiscent of stuff we know about them when they were alive, if we'd seen that character before.
Yeah.
For instance, there's a little kid zombie that kicks a ball
Yep.
at Shaun's face, which we saw the kid do earlier in the movie. Or we see this attendant at like a corner store, and once he's zombified, we see him like he's holding his hand out. Like
But specifically when he sees Shaun, because he knows that Shaun owes him money.
and, you know, it's just a ton of stuff like that. And I think it's, again, fun little background stuff that you can notice if you've seen the film again. Trying to pick up on like, okay, what characters are referencing stuff they did in life, but also just differentiates the zombies, and I think makes them feel more real.
I also like, it's 2004 at the time of them making this movie, and so a lot of zombie films have come out, and a lot of the tropes of the zombie genre have been established, and the zombies in the film look cool. They look good. I don't have any complaints about them. They do very classic, like pale. They'll do like blood on their face and stuff. The practical effects look okay. There's one scene that you said was specifically a Day of the Dead reference, which I think you're probably right.
Which one?
The dude in the window.
Oh, yeah.
But the practical effects on that look really good. Like
If you're curious, it's the one involving David. Is that his name?
Yes. They keep calling him not David. They call him Daffy, which I don't remember. But basically, my point is, while this movie is incredibly well written, incredibly funny, and well structured and plotted out, it does not lack any sort of practical effects stuff. Like, there are some really cool moments where the practical effects, for me at least, really shine through and are good, if not better than I remembered. And it helps that basically the entire thing is well crafted. Because if the practical effects suck, I think we lose a lot of the poignancy of the zombie moments, because, like I said, this movie is very funny, so it feels very lighthearted and not scary. But when you start to see some of the horrific things that happen to people, it gets worse.
Yeah, we don't get much of it. I think that one scene with David, that is his name, that is the Day of the Dead reference, is the most graphic we get.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's because they don't want to get rid of that whole goofy tone too much.
Mm-hmm.
The whole film feels rather slapstick. You can kind of keep it. But it is good to see occasionally. And you're right, I think all the practical effects look really good. We have a couple like CGI stuff. Very specifically, there's a scene when they're dealing with Mary that is, blatantly CGI. But I thought it looks really good.
Yeah.
It still holds up for something from 2004.
Yeah. And it's a fairly, I would think, difficult thing to have done, too. Because, spoiler, but basically you can see right through a zombie. Like, there's a hole right through them, and you can see through it all the way.
And you see how the person gets the injury, which is probably the harder part.
Mm-hmm. And, you see her, get off of whatever impaled her, and it's really cool.
Yeah, but point being, I think all the effects look good.
Mm-hmm.
The most impressive for me is they do everyone's eyes.
Yeah, I don't know if that's contacts or if that's, in post, but it looks really good.
I think it was a mix. probably with contacts on some people, and then some post editing on others.
What movie did we watch where that was a thing? Because that is definitely a reference.
What, the Milky Eyes?
The milky eyes with the blue in the middle. Was that... Because they do that in Zombie for Sale too, but that's a reference to something. It has to be.
It might be. I don't know off the top of my head. The whole Milky Eye thing is a real life thing. That's what happens to corpses.
Yeah.
Your eyes go like white.
Because...
But I don't know outside of that. I know you're right. They do that in Zombie for Sale.
So I'm just assuming it's a reference to something, but I don't know what it is. I don't know. I'm trying to look it up, but I can't find anything.
All right. Well, either way, I thought that looked really good, especially because I do think they did some of that in post, and overall it all looked pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
My only issue is sometimes the eyes didn't look identical.
Yeah.
Which, whatever. Kind of gave the zombies variety.
Yeah, that's nice. I also think they did a good job at making all the zombies look distinct and, like, interesting. Because we see a lot of the same zombies over and over. And so getting to see them multiple times is cool because you recognize them as you go. Like, there's a pair of twin zombies that you see quite a bit, and they're pretty funny.
Well, I think that's especially impressive because I was, reading up on some of the stuff about the extras, and apparently they just grabbed a bunch randomly.
Really?
Like, they had, I think, 50 zombies that they casted, and then they were like, we don't have enough. Like, for some of the sequences, like, especially the end when there's a whole horde outside the Winchester. And so they were like, I think they drew like another 100 from fans of their previous work, spaced.
Oh, that's sweet.
And then a bunch of kids saw them doing it, so then they got a bunch of kids in makeup.
No, that's pretty cool.
And so the fact that they all look decent, and assumedly they were going like over their expected amount of zombies, is just really impressive.
No, it's super, super dope.
Which, by the way, zombie extras in this film, they did great zombie work.
Oh, yeah.
Just wanted to put that out there.
No, they're really good.
That's not a thing that's often talked about in zombie films, but, our zombies are actors too, and they do great in this film.
No, they're really good. They're very convincing because, like, I feel like in a lot of the cases, zombies are, like, simple to play, but in this case, I feel like it's a lot more difficult because you have to be very slow and shambly, and I feel like that can be really hard to do.
Well, more so than normal zombies.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the first zombie our characters notice is named Mary, and they specifically have her acting in a way that's almost drunk at first, and it's like a hard thing to pull off, the amount of like looseness she has to act with.
Oh yeah.
I just thought it was really impressive, and everyone kind of does that to varying degrees.
I think the last thing we should talk about, and it's something that you mentioned in the pre-movie that I had meant to bring up earlier, but I just forgot. This movie is very much a look at what it would be like for a British man in the zombie apocalypse. Because, in Britain, they don't have guns. Or at least they don't have guns to the extent of someplace like America.
Oh my god, yeah.
And so for most of the movie, they're just running around with, like, ridiculous shit like cricket bats and umbrellas and just, like, sticks. And it's incredibly funny.
Yeah, because it's so ineffective.
It's so ineffective, but yet so different than, like, any other modern zombie film that when I think about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What I think's so cool about that, and this might just be me, but I think it really emphasizes how in most zombie films, unless the zombies are, like, really fast-moving, scary ones, just how incompetent the characters have to be to get, like, bitten and stuff. Because, you have a film like this where even though the zombies are, like, horrifically slow and stupid, our characters are still able to survive with practically nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that you have zombie films where it's like similar zombies, but everyone has guns and they still fuck up it's
insane.
It's insane. But it's cool to see that difference.
It is. It was unexpected yet really, really sweet.
Because in most zombie films, especially American ones, a good ways in, everyone has like chainsaws and swords and crossbows and guns.
And this one's like, oh, we have a chair
and a pool cue.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's so good.
Which, quick aside here, I love the cricket bat.
Oh, the cricket bat is
a weapon.
It's like iconic for real. It's so good.
I feel like it'd function better than a baseball bat.
Oh, probably.
It's got the edges.
Mm-hmm.
In either case, I mean, I don't have anything else. If you're good to go to recommendations,
I think I'm good.
Okay, do you want to start?
Sure. If you like Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, they're really good in this movie. They're really great. They've done the rest of this trilogy, and they also have a lot of other works that they work on. I think we talked about it a while ago, but Nick Frost is doing that. What was it? Crazy House, that like '90s sitcom horror movie. That's supposed to
like
come out soon.
You brought it up a while ago.
So if you're a fan of Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, or Edgar Wright, they all do incredible work. They're all really talented. They do a lot of really cool stuff. If you're a fan of the zombie genre, like I said earlier, this film is full of references to other like films in the genre or just horror in general. So it's really, really cool for that. So if you're a fan of this genre and want to pick apart a movie, this is a great film for that. If you just want a good time with your friends, this movie is great to just watch with friends.
Oh, that's exactly why I've seen it so many times.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you just put this on and you just have fun because it's just enjoyable. It's just a good time. I think those are it.
Okay. I'll add on to your first point of, like, obviously, if you're a fan of Frost or Pegg or Wright, I think this is a really great movie from them. Some people would argue it's their best film. I know this one or Hot Fuzz is, I think, most people's favorite in the Cornetto trilogy. But, there's other people in this movie, and if you're a fan of anyone included in this film, I know it's a lot of British actors, but you should check it out. If you want to see a very well-written comedy/horror movie, this one's great. We haven't even mentioned, but my favorite joke in the entire film is we see, like, the bizarro version of our main crew.
Oh my god, it's so good.
It's such a great, small little bit. And there's just tons of that stuff. If you want a zombie thing, kind of cool.
We didn't even bring that up until just now.
This is a whole romance film. It's all about Shaun trying to get back with his girlfriend Liz.
No, it's not.
Kind
It's
of.
not about Liz. It's about Ed.
I'm sorry. You're right. It's about Ed trying to get with Barbara.
No, not even that. I'm talking about Shaun trying to retain his relationship with Ed through all of this.
Well, that
They even do a joke. Hey, your boyfriend is your boyfriend. He's not my boyfriend. Here's a beer. Thanks, babe. Come on, bro.
it's kind of gay.
Yes.
They do make that joke a lot, and it
Oh,
cracks
it's
Bob
so
up every
funny.
time. Anytime someone talked about emotions, Ed was like, "It's kind of
Gay.
gay." You'd really tell it was 2004.
It was so funny.
But last but not least, you're a fan of zombie films. I think this is a really good one for that. It's goofy, but it has a lot of references, and I think being a fan of the genre really makes this better. That being said, you want to give it a rating?
Here we go. Maybe this is a hot take. 5. Like, on it. Like, I'm not even like there's nothing in this movie where I go, I don't like that, or I'm not a fan of that. And the fact that I, as a fan of zombie movies in general, considering I've pitched it twice on this podcast and
Thrice.
a third time in the random, which I'm so excited to get at some point. This is like up there with some of the greatest zombie movies of all time, in my opinion, because it is a zombie comedy, but it is also masterfully crafted to be in that way, and it feels natural when it is plotted out, if that makes sense. Like there's something about this movie that I could watch it again right now and I'd probably find more interesting stuff about it, and that's great. That's incredible. I really do love this movie.
I mean, there's a reason when you pitched the category, you went, I don't know any zombie comedy films except Shaun of the Dead. That one's good.
It's a great movie. I love this.
I mean,
movie.
there's a reason you who don't like horror films had seen this when you were 14.
Yeah.
Or who didn't like horror films. I assume you like them now.
I would hope I like them
I'd
now.
hope.
It's been almost 2 years.
In either case, I'm also going to give it a 5. I think with how well written this film is, and how it plays with genre tropes, and how funny it is, I think it's really hard to go lower than that.
Yeah.
There's not really anything I have a problem with in particular with this film. Most of the stuff that's like not amazing is done on purpose to be like cheesy or like poor looking, and that's kind of a part of the idea.
Part of the charm, for real.
Not even the charm. It's like purposeful references.
Yeah.
Like at the very end, not to be too spoilery, we do get to see the military for half a second.
Yeah.
And it's just a very like poorly shot like action sequence, but that's just a reference to like the endings of other zombie films that do the exact
When
same
the military
thing.
just comes in and cleans up real quick and everything's fine.
Yeah. And or like we'll have characters that do really, really dumb things.
Just insane dumb things.
But they make sense for the character to do. Point being, I think it's really great. I don't really have any issues with it. So 5.
Yeah.
I like it. Even though I've seen it a lot, the fact that I can keep watching it and find new stuff is always cool.
I think that's like the big takeaway for me. Is like I'd seen it before.
It's got great rewatch value.
It has incredible rewatch value.
That's hard to find.
Yeah.
All right, outtakes?
Yeah. We'll see you guys in a minute. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the outtake section for this episode of Beware the Board. I hope you're enjoying our review of Shaun of the Dead so far. I really love this movie. I think it's super duper well made and very, very fun. But without further ado, let's get into the outtake section. This first clip is our reaction to one of the best Night of the Living Dead references in the film. Oh, that's so good! Holy shit!
Pop's like, wow, I finally get all these references because I've seen movies now.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the outtakes. Do we have any announcements, Ben?
Nope. Usual spiel. Not even going to do it this time.
You're not?
Nope.
Why not?
Check us out wherever you get your podcasts.
Bro.
Spotify, Apple
What'd you say?
Podcasts.
Spotify?
Spotify. I'm really tired. I stayed up watching The Crow and it wasn't worth it.
Oh my god.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, other places. If you're checking us out on like a podcast specific platform, please give us a quick rating or review. That really helps us out getting seen by other people on those sites. You could also recommend us to a friend. Maybe you have a friend that kind of sleeps on your couch or something. You can just put it on the TV and they'll be too lazy to get up and turn it off. That's a great way to help us out. We appreciate it. Otherwise, check us out on YouTube, which, while not the best for audio-only content, is really nice to show us some support. You know, we can see all your likes, subscriptions, stuff like that. It's probably the easiest way for us to view your guys' engagement with the content. We do really appreciate that. Otherwise, YouTube has a couple cool tools you might appreciate. There's a bell button, which lets you get notified whenever we post something new in case we're posting something out of order. Not on Fridays. That'll notify you. Otherwise, there's a search button on YouTube that lets you search keywords in all our videos. So if you're looking for, say, a movie title to see if we've covered it, that's an easy way to do that. Otherwise, the big thing with YouTube is it's one of the two major places to communicate with us at. You can do that in the comment section of a specific video if there's something you want to talk to us about in that episode. Or you can go over to Twitter, @BewareTheBoard, and go talk to Bob. Maybe tell him stories about the interesting people that come into your bar and how maybe the bartender is an ex-mobster. Or maybe you can talk to him about all the drinks that you want to have tomorrow.
Yeah.
And how that's going to play out for him.
It'll be a good day.
In the future.
Like Ben said, check us out on Twitter, @BewareTheBoard. It's where we post updates about the show, information about the show. Basically, if there's anything you want to know about the show, it goes on our Twitter. On Mondays, I post a spoiler post for that week's worth of episodes, which is a hidden movie cover you can reveal, so you can watch the film before we do. So whenever you listen to the episodes, you don't get any spoilers, and we're being vague about stuff, you know what we're talking about. Then on Fridays, or whatever other day an episode goes live, I always post a link to the episode there. So if you ever missed an upload or want to know something up, there's always a link on our Twitter. Last thing, we make short form content for the show over on TikTok @BewareTheBoard and on YouTube Shorts. So if you want to support the show and enjoy short form content, check us out there @BewareTheBoard on TikTok and on YouTube Shorts. Benjamin, I think that's it.
All right, well, we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, see you guys next time.